Dave Draper and Larry Scott are two of the greatest legends in the history of this rich sport known as bodybuilding. Now that's an intro, and I could not do it without these two. I mean, Dave Draper, probably one of my top 5 favorite bodybuilders of all time, taking nothing away from Larry Scott, a darn good one himself. I remember my dad reminiscing about these two. He would always get one mixed up with the other, but at the end of the conversation, he would remember which one was which. I believe they both played in television shows back in his day, so I can understand the confusion. Let's get started with some side-by-side comparisons. Now, Dave Draper, 6 feet tall, and Larry, a mere 5 feet 7 inches. But you can see that Larry, he has some thickness there. Look at that. He doesn't have the widest clavicle, but he more than makes up for it with the big arms. And look at those delts. I mean, this is a very unclear picture of both guys. So you really have to take all things into consideration when you do these older comparisons. I would definitely wager to say Dave Draper has the superior structure, things of that nature. He's taller, wider clavicle, maybe even a more narrow waistline. But I think Larry Scott looks more like a bodybuilder with the thick arms and the probably thicker lag development. Anyway, the front double bicep pose. Both of these guys known for this shot. I don't like to use photo shoot pictures. Actually, a funny thing about Dave Draper, his competition pictures were usually a lot better anyway. So let's slap on a couple competition pictures. You see that? Dave Draper does look a whole lot better. Larry Scott, he still looks good. He's got full arms, long biceps, but Dave Draper has those peaks, those bicep peaks. It's actually a pretty good one, a good competition here. Larry Scott, more lower lat insertions, I guess. Better silhouette, perhaps. Let's have another shot here. I don't know. This one really displays the difference of their bicep peaks and the lack thereof, I guess, for Larry Scott. But look how full, just full they are. Hard to gauge the real correct sizes when you don't have the lags, things of that nature. Draper, a much longer-legged creature than one Larry Scott. This here picture depicts just basically the biceps alone. You can definitely see the lack of peaks on Larry Scott's, but such a fullness that I could definitely see some judges going the way of him, but I don't know. I prefer the peaks. It is bodybuilding after all. I guess I always am reminded of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he had the perfect peaks. But Dave Draper, not too bad at all. Front lat spread, I would wager to say Dave Draper has this one with ease. Not only is he taller with a bigger structure, wider clavicle, but I believe his lats themselves, yes, they are much more bulbous, and you can see them a whole lot better. That wide waist of Larry Scott is really hurting him in this competition. The side tricep appears to be a competitive pose on the part of both of these gentlemen. This is an interesting matchup. It puzzles me that these two they have never competed. These two had never competed against each other. Is that not strange? I think it is. Politics, perhaps? I don't know. Maybe Larry Scott ducked some people. I don't remember Larry Scott competing with a lot of guys back then. There's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think he've ever competed with him either. Either way, Dave Draper, he took the front lat spread, and he's taking the side tricepses, baby please, as well. He fills his tricep out a whole lot better, so size is basically irrelevant. But even if he was smaller, which he's not, he is bigger, so size does matter in some ways, but it doesn't matter anyway, because his tricep is better. Larry Scott, food for thought here, his legs look a little bit better, I guess, but nothing doing. This is an awesome matchup, guys. Now, this is a mantis position, I guess you could call it, for lack of a better term. You can see the tricep itself. Dave Draper may have an advantage in that aspect. But like I noticed in the first pose, he's a lot lankier than Larry Scott. Larry may be built more like a modern bodybuilder with that thick, muscular structure. He's 5 feet 7 after all. There's a lot of modern bodybuilders that are not that tall. Bonac is pretty short. Dexter Jackson, guys like that. And there's not too many that are 6 feet tall. I can't think of any. Cedric McMillan, maybe. And I don't see him placing too high. It's just harder to fill out that structure. Having said that, no real point goes to anybody in this shot. Now, the back developments are a very interesting topic in this matchup because, to be honest with you, if Larry Scott were to dominate in these shots, I might give him an edge, but it's plain to see Dave Draper probably had a better back as well. I mean, it is debatable. It's not the clearest shot in the world, but I wager to say that Larry Scott, and he is known, not Larry Scott, but Dave Draper. Sorry, now I'm mixing these two dudes up. But Dave Draper, known for a good back development. And let's face it, Larry Scott, not really known for that at all. Though the rear double bicep pose, you have to take all things into consideration here. Not a very good angle of the shot for poor Dave Draper. And Larry Scott, this is a perfect angle. It's straight on. Look at the legs of Larry Scott, the calves, things of that nature, and the lower lat insertions. Good too, good too. Not much of a V-taper, though. I think I'm going to make a hypothesis on this. If Dave Draper, if it was a clearer shot or a straight-on shot, I think he would display a much bigger and better V-taper. But you can't really say for sure, can you? Either way, Dave Draper did win the rear lat spread. This tilting rear double bicep, I believe this one really shows Dave Draper's superiority as far as the back development is concerned. Look at those traps and those lats themselves. Food for thought once again here. Larry Scott has the advantage in the legs, especially those calves. We will be finishing off with this. I guess it's the most muscular, even though they did not even hit that as a mandatory shot. Although they are both hitting it remarkably similar. The camera angle takes away from the width of Dave Draper, which he did have an advantage on. But since it's taken away from him, I'm going to go ahead and give Larry Scott the final point due to the display, of course. So a little bit of politics. But I don't mind doing that because here's your winner of this entire competition, Dave Draper. And I couldn't be any happier. Probably, like I said, my top 5 favorite bodybuilders of all time. Him, Bill Pearl, Robbie Robinson, of course, and Franco Columbu. Top 4 of all time, for sure. So it doesn't hurt my feelings one bit to hand this man a win. Hope you guys enjoyed this older comparison. I sure do. I love these older ones. There's not a whole lot of HGH and steroids. These are men. This is the way men were built. Hit a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you have not already. Have a great day.